Oh, hi. Thank you for your service. Um, so long story short, my mom was adopted from Germany in like 53 by Americans, and she was abused. She was traumatized by God knows what when they got her. Like my gram told me that like they found like cigarettes put out on her. I don't know what she went through, but anyway, she like had no maternal instinct, but she had, 3 kids. And uh, basically, even though I wasn't adopted, it felt like I don't know, from what I hear about Russian orphanages, that's what I feel like I have like, but my grandparents that adopted her were very healthy, very happy. They were Irish, pianos and 6 o'clock, glass of wine, happy, happy, happy. So like I constructed a normal, like I learned what it meant to be normal, but in my heart it's like empty. And I get frustrated because I've gone through years of therapy and years of stuff, and it just feels like I'm just medicating my head, but it never stays in my heart. And I have moments sometimes of clarity and presence, but for the most part, it disappears. Yeah, I don't know. You could probably call it a million things, but I have a lot of that like derealization, depersonalization to the point where it makes me suicidal. Um, but yeah, I just didn't know if you had any advice. I'm just like super frustrated with it. I'm 45 now, and it's been my whole life just therapy. And like I said, moments of where I think I'm connected, and then it just disappears.
Okay. So yeah, so the thing is, actually you kind of said it, that the fact that you never had love, maternal love, because your
Yeah.
mom is traumatized, you actually have a lot of so you have two kind of things. One is you have legacy burdens, so things that your mom went through passed on to you and you carry them. Is the first time you're coming here, my dear?
I like the second. And let me just add, my dad was like worse than her. He was like a brick wall. He left when I was around 5, but he was like zero emotion, like a brick wall. So I don't, usually I think, I mean, it was that bad.
Yeah, okay. So there are two parts of the story for you, what I would recommend. And I understand that you've gone through a lot of therapy, and that kind of makes you think that, well, despite all the work, am I a failure? And you're not. It's just that there is probably a path that you can think to take, which if it helps you, and this can be how do you call, it's a step-by-step one. So there are two parts for you to recommend. One is know that there are burdens that you've taken which are not yours, that came from your parents. What they went through, and they kind of gave it to you without you asking for it, which means you necessarily did not have to go through their trauma, but you could take their burdens. Okay, so that's one thing you're carrying. Okay, because of what happened to your mom, what happened probably to your dad. Okay, and etc. And that made them closed. But the thing is that you also took that part, and this. So that's one, and it's normally blindsides most of us because we think that we can work on things that we have gone through in our life. Okay, but actually there are also those what are called legacy burdens. So I would recommend that. And for that, if you are here, you can. There is a session we did a few days ago where you basically can do that quite to yourself. And what that does, it frees up a space in you where you could feel a bit of what you call love for yourself, because that's what you said sometime you have that and then it goes away. Okay, you need to have that space longer and longer during the day. It's like if it stays for 5 minutes and then it goes away. So what if it can go for 10 minutes? It goes 15 minutes, goes half an hour, 1 hour, okay, half a day, etc. And so the more you find that place inside of you where you can feel inside of you a bit of peace and love for yourself,
Mm-hmm.
that energy, which is called self energy, then creates an impetus for you to then start looking at other areas, because I imagine it's not only what you got from them, it's also what you went through with them. Because if at 5 your father left, there is a call that created, thank God for your grandparents, because they gave you a sense of what means love, and you have that story. But then, as it was missing from your mom, and you probably are connected with her, uh, it kind of traumatized you through the life, and that's why you have what you say is a lot of detached parts and detachment.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like people try to love me, but it's like water off a duck's back. It's
Yeah.
like it's hard.
Yeah. Yeah. Correct. And the reason you don't feel, because your inner system has no trust on outside world, because people that you give blind trust to actually did not give anything back. So your inner system is shut down like a turtle. It's like a brick wall around you to protect you. And
Yeah.
it's aware, and you just said that you sometimes have that feeling. Your system is aware that if you don't take care of her, she's going to take that extreme step. And so it does everything to protect you. Now, and it's not going to be easy to open up just like that. It's not going to come in and say, okay, hey, I'm here, and I open up to anybody or anything. It's going to be, it needs
Yeah.
to have evidence that there is love. There exists love. Okay. So yeah, okay. So somebody
It's
posted
it's
this.
really crazy. Like I thought it was normal. I never had like mental illness that I knew of. And then when I was 19 and I walked down the aisle to get married on my 19th birthday, my brain just went left and I went right. And I haven't been the same since.
So,
It's
so
really
something,
frustrating.
something got triggered at that time from events. Okay. And which means that there's inside of you, there is a lot of resources that are there to give you a normal life. It's just that something at the outer shell is protecting you from getting there. Okay.
Yeah.
And thank you, Anaswara, you posted the link. Uh, you can, so there's and you can find it also in the YouTube channel. If you come into the link, you will find it there. I would recommend you start by going through Legacy Burden session, which is recorded. It's 1 hour, and
Okay.
it's going to help you a lot, because it's going to release stuff that you necessarily did not go through trauma to get it. Okay, and that will give you space and keep coming back. I recommend all these are small, so you are going to get small nuggets to keep moving.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, you're most welcome. Thank you for everybody's messages. Okay, you want to go ahead, my dear? Next one. Thank you, Gaia, for your message. Yeah, go ahead.
I think
Yeah, you're the next one.
so. What's funny is I didn't even know today's topic. I haven't been able to attend with the schedule change until today. And when I logged in and saw what the topic was, I was like, well, what's this going to do for me? Because I actively will avoid relationships to avoid pretty much whatever you wrote there. And as you're talking and going through it, I'm like, well, avoiding it is kind of a different form of the addiction too. So I wouldn't have categorized myself that way, but I was like, you know what? I want to be here and enjoy the sound healing anyway, and I want to give you an update I went to a new physical therapist that hadn't seen any of my medical records on Wednesday, and my knee is at 15 degrees. The goal is 0. And after she worked on me, she got me to 9 degrees in less than half an hour. And she told me 3 to 6 months, I'd be able to make a full recovery. Now I got to send her the MRI information so she could see like how bad I was 11 months ago, because March 1st will make a year since I got hit by the car. So it was just like, so it's been crazy. I was gonna email you. I'm like, guess what? But I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna be able to be there this Sunday, so I'll save it for then. So it's been, it's still really painful. I still have like six days a week I'm doing some kind of treatment, so it's still a lot. But it was just really nice to hear, like, not the second doctor that said full recovery is possible physically, which is quite a bit since they thought I was dead when the car hit me. It's pretty good, and I'm okay with that. You know, like 3 to 6 months is a long time, but much shorter than never. And then going back to our activity today, what we were working on, I said, okay, if we're taking it from the approach of self-love and compassion, my mind started to rush ahead of the activity before you started giving us the questions, which has never happened before. So I was really, once I was like, oh, I don't know how much this topic relates to me, I just stayed open to it. And I journaled like wild. My outside resource was the sun. So it was really funny when you said release it into light, because what's the sun, right? And as I went through it, I had already written out all this stuff, and then you and I did it not on purpose, it just all came flying out. And then you went, oh, what age are you? And I'm like, oh, we're supposed to be at the beginning. But was very interesting for me was connecting to the compassion and understanding the abuse part, not having the comfort that it needed. So I went back and answered the questions as you asked them, but it was a big part of, for me, it was about safety and being assured to be removed from situations that were bad. And before you had gotten to the age part, it was just like a really young child, like, well, how will you know? And you know, it was like very innocent, very short questions that were being asked. And I was like, you know, I have more experience now, so I'll remove you from things that are bad. And what was it? And the little kid is like, that's not enough. You know, like I don't know. And it's and then something I say to my students that I work with is, I'm asking you to trust me. I know it's hard, but I'm asking you to trust one more time. And it was still like,
Oh, that's beautiful.
yeah, that's what I say to my students, because their worst case scenario, you know, they're dealing with homelessness, they're refugees, they've been failed at every turn. And then they're in front of you and you're like, yeah, this is really bad. Like, but just, can you try one more time? And they say yes. But when I asked that of myself, I don't know. I said, fine. I said, what do you need from me? And I said and the response was to be sure. And I said, I can't guarantee no pain. And the response was, I understand, will you talk to me again? And I said, yes, I will check on you often, which is exactly what I do with my students. I'm like, I'm going to be emailing, I might pop into one of your classes, because, you know, they used to get lost on the way to class and we can't have that attendance go sideways. So that's what occurred to me. I need to do that attendance for my parts. So I know, right? It was that's what I always tell people. My students do more for me than I've done for them. And even though I've been remote for 3 years, these little demons reach out anyway. Like, they've graduated. One of my students is starting grad school. Another one is finishing grad school. And these were students I worked with like 7 years ago. They're like, oh, Miss Castro, you have to come to my graduation. Like, they saw me last week. I said, okay, that's fine. And I said, here, can I talk to you when I need to? And I said, yes, as much as you want. Would you be willing to try a little bit more now? And then I got a yes. So it just reminds me of all the rescue work I've done with animals. You never force, you know, you offer food, you let them come to you. So that's what I needed. So at first I thought the age, when you asked, I wrote 5 or 6, and I'm like, well, that felt kind of old for the Q&A that was happening. And it was like 3 or 4. And I was like, oh, okay. So I had done all that, and then you said, how old are you? And then when they're, I know, right? And then when it got to the point of saying thank you, because I didn't say thank you until you mentioned it, and the sun, that light was burning much brighter. And I was like, okay, there's a lot of warmth in that. But the beliefs that came from that growing up in the household I grew up, neither one of my parents had a good childhood. Like, that's just, like, I didn't even find out how awful it was until I was in my 20s for my mom, and then in my early 30s for my biological dad. And it does not excuse any of the crap that they did, because we always have a choice. But from that, I learned that love was not safe. It comes with violence, and the feeling good does not last for a long period of time. And what I needed to know was that I should have been removed from the environment and stayed away from it. My mother actually moved us away when I was 2 and brought us back when I was 3. So I could totally understand. She said I used to wake up looking for my uncles. Yeah. So the qualities that I wanted to invite in was openness, optimism, joy, safety to receive, trust, curiosity, innocence, and playfulness. And what do I want now is breathe deeply, keep writing, and like start to dream in that space.
Beautiful. Wow.
It's a lot, right? I was like, oh, look what happens when I miss a couple of weeks. And the minute I connect, it all comes flying out. So yeah.
Well
And
done.
I know I'll probably send you a separate email because there's so much happening, but I wanted to share that experience because never before has it just all, before the Q&A happened, I'm like, I think I did a session. So check that out.
And your voice is like you're on fire, which is beautiful.
It's been a lot. It's been a lot, and it goes back and forth. It ebbs and it flows. It's not without challenges, but there is less weight in my, there's less ash in my brain. I should say it that way. I don't feel like I'm burnt out in the same way. And I was really happy to find out we had a 3-day weekend. So today is technically Saturday. So I have a lot to do, Manu, but I will send you a separate email. But yeah, that's what I wanted to share with the group. Thank you for listening, everyone.
Thank you so much. And I think this is, for the person that shared in the beginning and then somebody wrote, I have exactly my story. I think it's just to say that we kind of all start from almost same place when we go into journey. And I fully empathize when I'm actually gone that same way, is that you spend years and years and think that you have been working on yourself. That becomes itself a difficult thing. So I just say that there is sometime you find that. So what I say to people is that universe or God or whoever you believe in, divine, it always opens doors. You have to put your foot in and go in it. And that's what I've done. And that leads you at a point in time into a door that then opens your world. And so don't give up ever. And thank you for your share, beautiful share, because you did not go up. Okay, next one.
Hi, Manu. My name is Joanne, and I'm in recovery. I first came into recovery for cocaine addiction. Brief on my history. My mother was severely overprotective. She was an ACA, but had been brought up in a Catholic institution. My father is a narcissist. He is still alive. I met a man when I was 18. I'm 46 now. It was like a fairy tale, okay? He swept me off my feet. I fell madly in love with him and him me. He was also an active addiction, but not he had extreme wealth. He was in the extreme wealth bracket. What happened towards the end was I was falling apart and came into recovery after leaving him and our only son to live. He since was removed from society and put in an institution. And since I've come into recovery, I've lived a very, very quiet life. I sponsor men and women. I feel spiritually fit. But there was a part of me inside that it doesn't even look human. I feel nothing towards men when I was told to go and date, that I was well enough to date, because I constantly compare. I don't know if I'm heartbroken. I received no money from the man that I'd lived with for 26 years because I felt that it was morally incorrect, and I was happy with my new life because I am alive and I don't wish to live in the dark side of life ever again. But there is something that I don't feel when I go on dating sites, and I want to, I only love my fellows because they have compassion, and I don't know if it's because I'm not ready to date, or I'm best never to date again, because I probably will never recapture the love that I once had, ever. And I felt isolated in a bubble because I actually was in one. But is it normal for me to see this entity in me that promises it keeps me safe? It doesn't want compassion. It is highly evolved. And an incident did happen to me in 2012 where money was extorted from my family. I was removed from them for 6 months. And the man I was with was extremely extreme, and I'll just leave it at that, extremely extreme in everything that he ever done. And my question is, the only thing that flooded me with absolute terror was that if I lost the companion that lives with me, which is my animal, Fifi, her, and I just want to lead a normal life. I'm happy in recovery, and I am leading a normal life, and I am studying, but there is something in me that is not, it doesn't feel right. It cannot seem to. Well, I haven't had intimacy with anyone for 3 years, a bit longer, and more so I don't want to, because there's something in me that, although I didn't want him back, I yearn for what we had, but I don't want it at the same token, and I cannot seem to even date normally because there's something in me, and it doesn't feel it, and this is towards, I'm a heterosexual woman towards men, and I'm not a man hater. I have no aversion. I just really don't know what's wrong with me. I've never had therapy, only 12 steps of recovery, and I am sponsored by a medical psychiatrist who has helped me immensely. And I love my fellows. I sponsor men and women, and I love them dearly. And I've helped them recover, but there is something that is not right. It didn't even want to speak. I'm just going to leave it there. Thank you very, very much for these sessions.
Today, what happened for you? What did you go through today?
I
Silence? or
was
there was
it
something that.
it's older than a teenager, but it almost is not fully human. I know, does that sound
Mhm.
crazy?
No, no, no.
It does not want compassion. It feels highly evolved. It doesn't want to speak, but it filled with fear at the thought of actually losing my companion who lives with me, which is my dog. You know, I'm very fit in other ways. I go to university and I'm involved in liberation organisations and philanthropic work through my son. But whatever this is inside me, it didn't want that. It didn't want to feel, and it it almost compares people. It will men for dating, things like that. This sounds absolutely. I can't believe I'm even sharing this, but
Okay,
it
so there are.
yearns for the type of guy from the past, and he was
Yeah,
just.
yeah.
It's just like
Mm.
not really ever going to happen.
Okay, so there are two parts to your story from what I understand. One is that you have actually never probably grieved the loss, okay, because there was a loss. And there are two things that happen when you have a loss like this. One is a shock, and then followed by, so it's like, so you know, when you lose somebody like a closed one, your parent, etc., you have loss. When you lose somebody like this, you have a shock and a loss because you were not expecting, okay, and then it happens. This happens same when you have an accident and you lose somebody close by. You have two things. And so we normally deal with the shock, but we don't deal with the loss. So there seems to be in your system not having grieved the loss. So that's one thing I would recommend to do, which is to let that part of you, that relationship, etc., to be how do you call it? You know, we say grieving the loss, because then you can accept you to be who you are, because now it is there, and because it's associated with him, you cannot delink, and so you're always linked to that energy of his presence, which then doesn't allow you to have anything else, and that's why your system by itself protects itself and doesn't allow anything else to flourish. Or you did do it something, as you said, the extreme story, which then further put you into a protective same block, which is it's unsafe, and so we will not go there. However, you say you yearn for it, so which means there is a desire, there's a part of you that wants it. The spiritual side is sometimes what does happen is it tells you, it's like, okay, this is the next best thing available, so take it, while this is not yours because you lost it, and so you have not let it go yet, and so you keep that the two, and you always compare the two, and there's always going to be a gap. There's always going to be a gap. So no man can come and stand in that frame, because that frame is not empty. It's still filled with the man. So my recommendation to you is that if you can start by grieving the loss, which means letting it go, and you can. I think we did something around this in the beginning. I remember very specifically running something to grieve a loss. Okay, and then afterwards you can then go into creating what you want. Now, would you end up with a man or not is another question, but at least you can be in peace with whatever you decide, because now it looks like there's kind of an inner anxiety. Make sense?
Yes, it really does make sense because I lost my mum in recovery, and
So there's another
I
loss.
was kept busy sponsoring people when my mum passed away because I'm an only child. I had, well, me and mum were in a hospice and I lived there with the dog. And that week he was removed from society. And when I say extreme, he was in a wealth bracket. And I'm not even, I don't feel a materialistic person. It was the person he was. And it is, it, yeah, it really does make sense. And maybe I need to look into some type of grief counseling or,
Correct. Yeah.
yes,
So do the grieving of the two losses, because now you're talking about two losses. It's the man and then also the mother you never grieved. And then I imagine there is a trauma attached to what you went through with this extreme man. So those three absolutely will help you to at least calm down from that energy which is there, because that's very heavy in your system. Because otherwise, as you say, there's a lot of gifts you have, a lot of gifts. Okay, because
humanity.
you are doing so much for the world, and but why do it from a place of being in love with you?
Yes, God is definitely real, and without the work of sponsoring other people, I really don't know where I'd be because it's a part of my identity.
This is
And
your medicine. So this has been your medicine to keep you going. But if you do it from a place of you being whole, it will change your relationship with this medicine that you already have, this gift that you are already doing, the good you do for the world. It'll change your relationship with that so tremendously.
thank you, Manu, for these sessions.
You're
And
most welcome.
I've made some notes. Thank you very much.
You're most welcome. So I'm just going to read something. I have a heavy heartache for one man who's not my husband. I don't have intimacy with my husband, not for years. I've listened to YouTube about narcissism and trauma bonding. I'm afraid I can only feel chemistry with someone who was like my mother, who left my father as a baby. She was emotionally absent as a mother. I was afraid of my father and was told he was a very bad man. But will I always experience this problem? I have a dull ache inside, causing much crying and pain. Yeah. So, for example, this session is actually specifically on that only. So see what happened to you in the session and go back to work again on the same part, because I will record a small session as a follow-up to today's session, is because you get these trailheads always. There are these small threads like what Corinne mentioned before. You get these small trailheads. You need to go back and work on with them and keep going back to them, keep going back, so that you build relationship with the part of you that got affected, because that's where you are as well, which is when your mother was not available. So there is something that goes there, and once you heal that part, you do not have to look for similar people that give you exactly the same experience. So you break that pattern. Does it make sense to you, Cheryl?
Yes, thank you. Hang on, I'll put my video on. Yeah, this is something that's kind of bugged me. I didn't realise, but I've had a lot of looking at this stuff and doing therapy, and I can't get rid of this obsession for this particular person. who I met years ago when I was very young, 25. And something about the whole thing scares me, terrifies me, but I'm drawn in all the time. So just like that, you know, and yet it's caused me so much heartache. And yet at the same time, there are problems at home which I need dealing with somehow. And I can't deal with it all. I can't. And it's causing me, I mean, a lot of, well, I'm not doing things I like doing. It's always there, this problem. What shall I do? Shall I do this? Shall I do that? And it's been driving me insane. Well, I've been driving myself insane with the whole thing. I like one of your other ladies who were talking earlier. I have moments where I feel fine, but it doesn't last long. And I can so easily get drawn back in, like, you know, like waves crashing on the seashore, and then they get dragged back into the sea. You know, that thing, I feel like that. Don't know why I'm thinking of the sea. I like the sea, but yeah, as the waves sort of like all foams on the sand or pebbles, and then you can hear that dragging sound.
Going back.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what I would really recommend is, and I will do a small video for the follow up of this session and post it in the YouTube. I really recommend that you pick up trailheads or these threads that you would get when you get into that. This is why in the beginning I didn't ask anybody.
What's
It's like,
trailer heads?
so trailheads are when it says go to the part that is addictive, and who comes up first.
Mum.
That's what. Yeah, there you go. So work on that and keep going into this every day, and because that is the lead into where everything is stored for you. Okay, why it is you feel stuck. And so when you keep going there, understanding it, and keep writing like Corinne did, I mean, she did beautifully, is exactly the same way. What it does, it brings you meaning. And while you think you are working, because when you say, well, I'm going to work on my love addiction, is not, that's why I did not do anything in the beginning. I just said definitions and say, let's go straight in, because when you go straight in, you find something which your system knows. So it cannot come from your conscious mind. That's why it comes from something inside. And so just follow the leads. So if mom comes up, now your work is for the mom, whatever came up there.
It's
And that,
father too.
okay, so then the two of them. And so repeat the session, keep running it, keep doing it every day till you feel it eases out. You will know it. You know you're eased out and it doesn't feel as much. Now, so remember, you're not working on the addiction to the man. That was the beginning of the story. That thing is linked to what is coming up for you in the session. And so
I'm
work on
beginning
that.
to understand that. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's okay. Don't worry, my dear.
But
Okay. Okay.
it's caused so much pain, but it's almost like I'm reliving stuff.
Yeah.
It really is. I mean, the thing is, on stuff I've seen about this, you know, narcissism being attracted to, apparently, if you feel a sort of real the chemistry when you meet someone, and it's immediate chemistry, this is a danger sign. And I used to believe that was love.
Yeah, you got part of that thing that you're right. Okay, it absolutely can be that way. But then, if you do what I was just saying, what happens is the energy that you hold there starts to diminish, and so you discover a different you.
Right. Because I feel as though I've been struggling to be me for so long, all my life, really.
There you go.
Something is always gets in the way, and I'm the way I feel okay is if I'm pleasing people,
Yeah,
and that's codependent, I believe.
yeah,
Sort of.
correct. There you go.
Yeah. And I don't know how to get rid of it apart from as you, because I desperately want to be healthy.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, makes sense?
Thank you. Thank you so much, Manu, for everything.
You're most welcome. You're most welcome. Okay, I'm going to post the link, Deborah. I'm just going to do that. But if you come into the WhatsApp group, etc., I'm going to post a recording of this session. Then from there, it is always on the YouTube, but I'm going to send you the link of the channel as well. Okay. Anybody else?
Since there's space, I'll come in.
Of course, you're most welcome.
Yes, this is my second meeting with you.
Okay.
But I had belonged to the group for a long time, and these past 3 days I have been doing the conflicting parts meditation.
Beautiful.
And and today it was love addiction, and at first it was just like you don't have it, you've been celibate for a long time, but it is fear of getting close, but deep underneath when I did the work is that they will leave. And then I'm nearly 60, so it's not like I get a file to have dates or something, so there's not very many occasions, but I smoke and I'm struggling, and when I did the conflicting parts, it still kind of ties in to this love thing, love addiction, because it is a love-hate relationship, and I'm using it to cover up the void and the loneliness. Anyway, it is a relationship, and it is an addiction. I was gonna try to use force, and I tried to quit several times, but then afterwards it comes like, oh, what's the use? This feeling of helplessness comes in. It's just like, yeah, and I know it's learned helplessness. Since I was young, I was always shut down. I don't need to go in that story. It seems like it's most of us that come here. And I intend to do that 10-day exercise that you suggested, to talk to the part and kind of like love it. It doesn't, because the way I approached it before, it was just like through gritting teeth, because it's the healthiest thing, but then something inside me is not collaborating, and I give up. So anyway, I don't know what else to say. Yes, please.
So I think it's the same answer I would give it to you, which I was telling before, is use this one to, so when you went into the session, there's something that you would have connected to, like the other one she was talking about, connecting to mom. Okay. And that something is where you hold the energy. So use that as a way to keep going back and healing that one, because once you heal that, then it may take away the reason for you to smoke, because smoking is always, there could be a big reason behind it. And because any addiction is actually numbing, is a way to numb a pain. And if you take away the pain, then there's no reason for that part of you that is linked to that addiction to keep going back to that same experience. So it could be smoking, but it could be having difficult relationship, whatever it is. So it's just that loop. So use this as a way to go into find what you find, but it's not that you find it and do it one time like you did today, but keep going back, because it is going to keep revealing more and more. Every time you connect to this part, it tells you more, okay? And it may bring, like you correctly said, that we all have younger versions of us which got traumatized and went through pain. However, if they keep sitting where they are, then you cannot be free from the pain. And then you use a mechanism to counter the pain.
Right.
And then actually because you may say that, probably, I don't know, how much do you love the part of you that smokes? Probably you don't like it, and that's why you're trying to get rid of it. But when you try to get rid of it, something that actually reduces your pain in your system, it says, oh, you want to get rid of something that reduces pain, I'm going to be more stronger in you. And then it becomes this kind of love-hate relationship. And that itself is part of the problem. Any addiction, and I've said before, I was working with somebody yesterday, and this morning, it says food addiction. And exactly same thing is that has gone through so much pain growing up, etc. And now the food is away, but she hates, and she says, I want to kill it. I want to get rid of it. And then it becomes stronger, exactly because you are trying to get rid of something that actually saves you and is part of your system. So first thing is to accept it and say, thank you, my cigarette, because you reduced my pain. I know the resource. You are my resource. Now let me go and work with the pain, and then I will come back with you to see if you still want to be around or not. And so that you change your relationship with it instead of hating it or not liking it, because the society itself says, oh, smoking is bad or drinking is bad, etc. I mean, any addiction is looked down badly, whereas actually in your system, that was the only way you could not do something more dramatic, okay, because smoking took away the pain. So you tell to this part which smokes, saying, you know what, I'm not going to, I'm going to get friendly with you. And I understand and appreciate and even feel that thank you so much for being in with me and helping me cope with the pain. But let me do my work. I work and go into looking into the pain that makes you do what you did. And then I will come back to you when I'm done with my pain work, saying, do you need to be there?
Yeah. The thing is, I did some inner child work in ACA, and it connects to the teenager, right? The teenager rebelled and started smoking, and I know it's to keep me from going to the inner child, as far as I understand. But I also try to tackle the teenager, and I do have curiosity, but she just gives me her back. She doesn't want to.
Okay, yeah, so the teenager, okay. So you have to ask, so you have to really, you have to check whether you're just curious or there's something you are not attached to it. So this one, you have to be really compassionate. When you work with a wounded, the younger one, it can only work with you if you are in a place of pure love and compassion, because it's part of you.
Yeah.
Okay, and so it got stuck there because of whatever happened, and it had to do something to protect you. So it did a lot of work to protect you, and now it is stuck there. So you, the elder one, when you go there and say, I want to heal you, it needs to find you in a place of absolute pure love, and not, I don't like you look so this, and why did you do this? No. That's so she will not feel safe with you, because in the process we say, do you want to come from that place to be with me? So imagine what will make a 1-year-old or a 5-year-old come to you. Okay, only if it feels that you are pure love, you are going to protect her, and you're going to take care of her. Only then they would come. Otherwise, that's why in the session we say, or do you want to go to a place where you feel safe? And sometimes they say, I want to go to a nanny's place, or I want to go to a beach, because it doesn't feel safe with you yet. So it'll go there, and that's okay. At least it leaves that place where it is stuck. Okay, but eventual target is that it comes to you, because when the 5-year-old becomes you, if you are 40-year-old, and integrates with you, now the trauma is literally gone. It's no more in the system.
I do feel the inner child, but the teenager, she's very angry because I abandoned her. As if I put myself as a loving parent. She told me, you don't know what love is anyway. Why the heck should I trust you?
There you go. So now you have to do the work so that she trusts you to love you. And you can ask to it, saying, what do I need to do for so you will trust me? She will tell you. And you do it. She will tell you. Come prepared. These, especially the teenage parts, they actually, you think they are younger and you're older, but actually they are more mature and much more at a higher level of vibration than you are, because at that moment they had to survive. Yeah. And they learned so much, but you left them, and exactly as you said, that was the only way for you to keep going. It's your system that actually detached it so that you do not go down with that, whatever happened to that teenager. And so it feels abandoned. You had to abandon, your system abandoned to continue. But now that you start to do your inner work, it wants to come, but it wants to meet her where she feels that I'm going to be safe with you.
Yeah, not that I want to change her. And
Not
she's
yet.
wise. She always felt wiser beyond her years. And now here I am, because I've got some recovery under my belt, saying, oh, I'm going to change you, I'm going to love you. Oh,
And so, and this is beautiful. This is beautiful. I think it's very nice what you're saying, and it's for everybody to hear, especially the teenage one. I've always find that teenage ones have actually more wisdom. And now you're here and you say, well, I'm older. I need to tell you what to do. No, that's exactly the problem. But when you turn it around and you say, okay, I've had so many people that took their teenager as their guru, literally as their inner voice angel, and then everything turned around. Because then she will be able to say, okay, yeah, I think I can be safe with her. And when she does that, she will leave that place, because she's also not happy to be there.
She wants
where
to
she wants to go. She wants to be free. Exactly. And as long as she stays here, you are going to be in that soup.
loop.
Yeah, correct, in the loop. So there's no other choice, if I'm saying like that, than for you to become humble and because compassion will help you to go to her. And so your work is to breathe and till you don't feel compassion, don't go to her, because she will immediately know and she will tell you, run away. Yeah, that's when parts don't want to talk to you.
Thank you so much.
You're most welcome. You're most welcome. Go ahead, Lynn.
Oh, hi, Manu. Thank you
Hello.
for putting on this workshop for everyone, and thanks everyone for sharing the space. I sometimes don't hear my inner voice, and so when we do these questions,
It's
I
blank.
it feels a little blank, and sometimes I don't know if I'm like answering it from the inner child place or if I'm answering it from like just what I
Ah,
feel like.
okay. So
So
there's
like
there's an analytical
there,
part of you. It
yeah,
comes in,
the
it says,
overthinker.
overthinker, correct. So
Yeah.
what I recommend you do, normally I used to say it in the beginning, maybe I should bring it back into the script, is what you should do is to tell to your overthinker part saying, I understand what you're saying. Let me just be with it. So you ask it to step aside.
Okay.
You are connecting to the self. You are connecting to
Am
the
I?
part.
Okay.
Absolutely. We all do. Okay. And the voice that you hear, actually, we are all the time connected to our part. Eh,
Mm.
We all the voices we hear in our head, the chatter we call it, it's all from the parts. Okay. It's just that you don't know who's talking. And
Yeah.
okay, we're right. But here you start to go very specific. Okay. And, but you have an analytical part that questions what you just said. Are you sure? Are you sure? Yeah, I had that in the beginning, so I learned it as well. So what you do is you tell your analytical part, saying, I understand you, but can you step aside
Mm.
as I do my conversation with it? And if it keeps coming back, then you say, let's you and me talk.
Okay.
Because the analytical part wants to tell you a message.
Mm. Okay.
Okay? So you say to analytical one, what do you want me to know about you? What are you afraid would happen? Those two questions. Okay, always those two questions. Okay,
Mm.
okay,
Okay.
okay. And then you just listen it out, and and then say, are you okay now to step aside? And it'll step aside. And the moment the analytical part step aside, then your conversation is no more intervened by this thought that, oh, am I creating myself? But sometimes you may have silence, okay? It does
Right.
happen. Part don't want to talk.
Okay.
And
It just
it can come from two reasons. One, that you are not in a place of compassion or curiosity because they don't want to talk to somebody which is all over the place, like a little bit, because they are all over the place and saying, how can you help me if you are not in a place which is different from me? Okay. That's why we always, in the session, we try to say, can you go back to a place of being compassionate and curious? Those two emotions, they come from a very different part of you, neurologically. And whereas anything which is anger, frustration, etc., they are not going to open up. So most of the time, it's that, or they are highly, highly protected. They just don't want to talk. Okay. And which is when you have extreme case of dissociation, etc. Okay. So that can, if somebody is very highly traumatized, then when you try to talk to parts, they just don't want to say anything. They keep silence. But I don't think it's a story for you. You're talking, but you have an analytical which comes and says, "Oh, this is your own creation." So if you just create a listen to your analytical saying, what do you want me to know about you? Maybe
and
it
why
wants
are
to
you
say,
here? Is it?
and why are you here? And what are you afraid of? What are you
Oh,
afraid of? Okay. And that question, once it gets answered, because it's like, do you know the little child that want to say something, and then when it gets heard, then it takes his lollipop and sits on the side saying, I'm okay. She has heard me. And
right.
that's exactly how parts are. They just, if there's a part that keeps coming up and keeps coming up, as you hear a chatter and it doesn't go away, then normally when you do a session, you say, okay, let's leave the, the addictive part on the side. This one has something to say. and your system knows very well who wants to say something, and so you listen to it and ask it, what do you want me to know about you? The same two questions. Okay, what are you afraid of? And there are actually three questions. What do you want me to know? What are you afraid of? And what needs to happen for you to relax?
For you to relax, yeah.
And you write it down, okay? Saying noted. Are you okay to step aside now? It normally will.
Okay. May I share something that came up
Of
when
course,
you were doing
of course.
such? Okay,
Okay,
thank you.
okay.
So I really appreciated that you said like I think you said like give it a symbol or like an image or so. And what came up was I thought of like a little, well, I think I was thinking of my younger child, like very small, like 6 or 8 or something, that like needed to hide away when my dad would rage at home when I was young. And so everyone would go to their separate rooms and I'd feel so isolated or unseen, and like there'd be no apology or there'd be no acknowledgement of like this pretty traumatic thing, like loud thing that would happen regularly. And then when you said like the feeling, and then you said like to put the feeling into the light or so, I felt like the feeling was like a little crab that like backs away into a crevice. And then the little crab was
Right.
like, okay, I'll go, but can you just cut out this little crevice so I could go with the crevice with you into the light? So it still wanted to stay in there, but it was willing to go, just like it wanted to still be like,
Safe. It wanted to be safe.
yeah. I don't
The
know if, does
crevice.
that sound like I'm even connecting with something or just,
Absolutely. You are. You are.
oh,
No, you are. Because there was a safe, so you, as a little one, was creating a safe place. And you would go into hiding, and that's why you have the image of a crab, because it goes into hiding and nobody sees me and I'm safe.
yeah,
And so, yeah.
you go
So
deep inside enough, no
you
one can get to you.
and you took the crab and the crevice and let it into light.
Yeah, I take it with its little home and bring it in.
Brilliant.
Oh,
So go back and connect with it and find what the little one is doing, because that's what in the follow-up is important, because you need to keep going back to the little one and saying, what are you doing? How are you doing now? How are you today?
yeah, you were saying that in the daily
Previous,
prayers or
previous,
like
yeah.
daily
Yeah,
connection.
just ask it, because there it's going to stay in a safe place, because you have created a relationship with it by going every day and connected to it.
Okay, that makes sense. The acknowledgement is important. It helps with the trusting of self.
Your acknowledgement to it. Your acknowledgement to it. So when you connect, you're acknowledging it. You're letting it know that I'm here for you. So when it goes, because sometimes what does happen, so this is in case of like what you have experienced. So if something similar comes along in your life, the little one will immediately want to jump back into crevice. Okay. And
Okay.
yeah, exactly. But if you have been in contact with it, it's going to come up to you and say, remember that we worked on it, and then you give it love. Okay, because you find it and you had created a relationship with it.
You know how to listen to it.
You know how to listen to it, exactly. And because you've created a relationship with it, it knows also how to find you.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
That's nice.
You see?
Thank you. Yeah.
Because it felt so far away that you never, so many times when you go and find these little ones, many times when you ask them, they say, where were you? And you could not, you came in first time in 35 years. It was 5-year-old. Now you're 40-year-old. And it says you came in first time. It's the first time you came and visited me.
Yeah.
That's how That's how isolated they are. So when you find them and you bring them to you, make them safe, and you create a relationship with them, what you don't want is them going back to that place where they were safe then.
Okay.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
make
Thank
sense?
you. Yes, yeah.
Welcome. Go ahead, Aloha.
Hi, I was just wondering, you mentioned dissociation. I was wondering what you found helps with severe dissociation. I feel like I'm probably narcissistic, but like I said, because of my grandparents, I learned how to act normal, but not feel normal. So yeah, thanks.
Yeah, that's part of it. So my experience with that is it's much harder. I would say that because dissociation is that your own system kind of puts that part into like a cold storage. It's like away from so it's very difficult to even reach it. So that's why dissociation is you don't feel anything. There's no answer back. So what I always say is that, or I've found that, is that when you create what we call self energy, which is you start to love yourself for being who you are, where you are, and not feeling as much of a victim of all your past experiences, and you start to being in that place of self-love for a longer period of time, then your system says, oh, she's strong enough, maybe we can give her access to this part and she can deal with it. So
Yeah.
sometimes there are situations where there are very strong traumatic memories that actually you don't even remember them. Somebody asks you in a therapy, etc., you have no memory of it, but you kind of sense it. So that's what because your own system banishes it literally. And it says it's much better for her or him that has no access to it. But energetically, it is in your system. So you still hold it.
Can you remember the stuff that gets banished?
So what happens is when you start to be in a place of more love for you, then that may come up and you may have access to it, which means you may have access to the memory, and which means you can go through trauma release and then connect to that part and bring it over without going through a lot of pain.
Yeah, it is hard. It does feel like if I remember what happened, I'll die.
There
For
you go.
sure.
This is exactly why your system has banished it, because of exactly the words you just used. It is afraid of that. It's paranoid of it. That if she gets to see it, she's going to do exactly what you just said. So it's
Yeah.
better to keep it away. But as of now, yes, this can be true. So that's why I was saying, I think for you, your path is go through understanding of legacy burdens and clear them up. I do promise you, because I've experienced it so much working with people and working also here, is that legacy unburdening, because you did not have the experience, your system is easily able to do it because you never
Yeah.
went through the trauma. It was somebody
Well,
else's
it's
trauma.
difficult because I had their trauma, but I was also sexually abused at some point by my father. I don't know the extent. I don't
That's why there is
remember the extent.
that's why there is this is your system that keeps you safe from that, and it's okay to keep it like that, to say I will deal with it when I have enough self energy.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Yeah.
And real quick too, I was just curious, most people say narcissists can't get better or change, do you find that, like they say, most people say I can just do the best I can do and it's not gonna, get
Yeah. So
better?
what
It
I
isn't
always
really good.
Yeah, what I say to people is that you can't change anybody. They themselves will decide to change. But what you can change is your relationship to where they are. If you do that, and it's harder when it is somebody in your system, in your house, where you see the person every other day. It's harder. I don't say that it's an easy one. But when you start to work to change somebody, then your inner system creates a war with their inner system, and that
Yeah, I
is
mean, myself, like, I feel like I'm probably narcissistic, and all the research says that I can't get better, pretty much.
okay. So if this is you, then yes, because it's your system. Absolutely, you can.
Like, I
And
feel like
and this
even with my cat, I try to love it because I know I have to, but I don't feel real love toward it.
yeah. So the word that you use for yourself is a label. It's like a label of saying I am somebody was talking about I'm a smoker. Okay, and so it's a label, right? And so and the word narcissist carries energy. So when you label yourself as that, now you put that energy to yourself, and which is in conflict being with loving yourself. That's why I'm
Yeah.
back to that. When you go on the journey, the reason why you are or you became whatever label you give it is
Yeah.
because it was the only way to protect you. It was to
Right.
take away your pain.
Right. Right. Because if I had feelings or needs, it wasn't. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I couldn't
So
have feelings or needs because
because
it
it
was
was
just death.
dangerous. It was dangerous, exactly. And so it's a protection mechanism. So
Right.
when you understand that, now can you start to love the part of you that you label narcissist?
I just get frustrated because despite all my work for 30 years, I still don't feel real love for myself. And if my own parents didn't love me, how am I supposed to ever love myself?
There
Like,
you go.
I've tried. I've tried it all,
Yeah. And
and I
that,
still don't.
yeah, so that's why I'm back to the point. I think for you, I would recommend do a couple of weeks of just legacy unburdening. Find
Okay.
anything and everything that you think you got from your parent, from your mother, her story, etc. Just release it. It takes 45 minutes.
Okay.
Just keep doing it. Just keep doing it. And nothing else. And you're just releasing every burden that you took from whoever in your
Okay.
etc. Okay. And nothing else. Don't focus on anything else than that. And
Okay.
just come back with that. Do you have that link? You have something there?
I thought you were saying it would be in the feed for the WhatsApp. Would it be
Yes,
in the
correct.
feed?
I will.
Yeah.
So if you join the WhatsApp, I will put it there. There are 2 sessions we did, and I'll put them there. Okay, so you can just look at them and work with whichever makes link for you,
Thank you.
and just do it for 2 weeks every day.
Okay.
Something release,
Yeah.
something release, something release.
It's really been making me like feel like suicidal because I have all this like intelligence and I want to feel and I want to love. And it's like no matter what I do, it's like hit my head against the wall. So yeah, I'll try that.
Try that. Give it a shot, and you will. If a little bit comes into you where you feel there is something that feels like love for you, just
Yeah.
celebrate it. Just say, good work, my
Yeah.
dear. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay. To
I
yourself.
just I
Just
just
to you.
like to say real quick in honor to my brother. My brother took his life a couple months ago, and never, never expected that. And so like our life has already been hard, and you just, I never expected anything to get worse, you know what I mean? So it's like now I have that on top of all this other crap, and then, the divorce, like my husband wants a divorce at the same time. So it's like been a lot of fun. So, yeah. It makes it hard because there's that like boulder, I was just getting out of, oh, woe is me, our life was horrible, and now there's that boulder. Like, I don't know if you have any advice for that type of thing.
Yeah,
But
there is. Okay, so I said last time, and I know one of, she's here today. She came to receive, so I run another group where we do what is called core and sealing. It's a meditation. Anka, I know one of our beautiful hosts is there as well in the call here. And there are a couple of others who are there as well. And so I told to her as well, she came last time and said, sometime when you come in to receive love from strangers, people that you have nothing, you have no link, and they just give you only extreme unconditional love and pray for you in a meditation, something starts to shift inside of you. So I would give that on top as a resource. Okay, use
okay.
it if you want. I mean, it's something that you want. You can just.
What's
It's
it
free.
called?
I'm going to send a link. I will just post a link so you can go and book yourself in. We run it twice a day, and just come in to receive.
Okay. Is that, you did that on the WhatsApp or this chat?
I will put it also in the chat, and you can just. I'm going to post you the link to that, and you just come in to receive. So you
Okay.
book yourself in, and then you receive.
Thank you.
Okay. I just posted the link. What if I have? Yeah. Okay, yeah, you got it. Sorry, I have a question there. What if I have chronic severe pain, which limits my ability to focus on meditation? Yeah. So I would, and this is Deborah. So Deborah, I would ask you to do the same if you want. Okay. Come to receive. I've seen so many miracles with that. So just come to receive and open yourself to reduce your pain so that you can go back to do work on yourself. Make sense? Okay, great. Thank you everyone for being here. You have something?
Yeah, I just woke up. I've been here, but during the meditation, I seem to have fallen asleep. And I just want to ask, I feel very calm right now. How often do you do this?
This one is every 2 weeks.
Every 2 weeks. Okay. Yeah.
And I post the recording of the session so you can go back and look at the previous one if you've not been here before.
Thank you. No, this was very good. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for this. I appreciate it.
Most welcome.